Well, hello, man cavers, and what are we doing today? We have got here our Wrigley truck. You saw a brief part of that the other day at Strad Set. I said I had one. Here it is. There's a chain missing, the main drive chain. So we need to roll some credits and see if we can figure out why that chain was gone. Back in a minute. Welcome to the man cave. Let the games begin. So guys, here we are. Now then, I want to see why this chain was gone. I have noticed it has a brand new drive chain in the bottom here that goes round to the front wheel. As you can see under there, that is a spanking brand new chain. Did they just not put this one on, or is there an issue? Because we have the sprocket on the engine. Right, let's check the clutch. If I come around here, that clutch cable's come off. If I move the clutch, does that come out? It does. So this separates. So that clutch is working. So when we turn the whole thing, that should move the truck. Clutch is now released. And it does. That's turning the truck. When I push the clutch in, that should freewheel. There we go, clutch in. Right, it's still turning the clutch. Clutch off. If I push the clutch in, right, the truck still wants to move with the clutch in. So this disc should spin freely now, because that would idle. That will be turning all the time when the engine's running. This will turn all the time, and when you let the clutch off, and when you let the clutch off, it should go. So there should be like a clutch which you have in to start, and this should spin freely, and then when you release it, off you go. So why isn't this turning independent? Alright, I think we need to have them springs off, because this is an Albion gearbox, as fitted to my old Bonza that had exactly the same gearbox. Alright, the good thing with this is you can turn the whole thing in its turntable. We can turn the whole machine, so you can actually do it backwards. Right, will they come undone with a spanner? Or are we not? No, they're coming undone, look. Yeah, these are hang on, wrong side spanner, guys. These are coming undone, no problem. Alright, this is where it all gets springy, comes off, and then we're in trouble. So we've got to take all three of these off, and then when we tighten it back up, we've obviously got to set the tension on the springs and tighten it back up the same tension. So let me get all these off. Come on. There we go. Oh, yeah, that's good. They're going to be easy to get back in. Right. You know, this could all just be sticky in here, but I would have thought there's some sort of issue why this is not spinning independent to the rest of the thing, because it should do. And I don't know why it isn't. We will have to see, won't we? There's got to be some sort of problem in there which will explain why they haven't put a chain on. I do like how somebody's actually put a bicycle brake cable on here, and they've used a bolt hole for the cable holder. That is man cave approved. most certainly. Sorry you can't see what I'm doing, I'm just taking these out. And you're going to say, Adam, why did you get a Wrigley truck? Well, this deal happened 3 months ago. I said to George, I wanted a Wrigley truck. I think this was before I even started Dad's Fergie. And I said, I wanted a Wrigley truck. George said, I'll try and get you one. And he come and he said, yep, I've got one. I'll swap it for your all right on mine. I said, yep, deal. He said, but I won't be able to stretch it. And I thought, well, that's next year, but that'll be all right. So this deal happened about 3, 4, 5 months ago. A long time ago. Hence why you're thinking, why have you got a Wrigley truck now? Well, we have a Wrigley truck. Right, this clutch should come off. There we go. Right. Of course it's not going to spin independent, is it? That's actually locked to that. I can't think what's going on here. I can't think what's going on here, guys. There's your rod. What pushes. What happens here? I can't think. Ah, that's right, there's a bearing in here, isn't there? This thing needs to spin independent of this. So this is a workshop job. Yeah, I totally forgot. This clutch plate with the sprocket should turn independent. So this is seized onto here. And that's our issue. Do you remember I had the same thing with the Bonza? And all them roller bearings flew out. Let's get this in the shed. And I think we've found why it had no chain. Aha! So guys, we have all this stuff, and here's our clutch. Now if you remember, when we did the Bonza, I had to replace all the friction discs, and I had totally forgotten that this sprocket should be separate to this piece. There's another set of clutch plates in here, like on this side. So we need to separate this, and somehow try not to. That is very much seized on. Now my voice won't open far enough to go in there so you can hit this and you're likely to bend things, and I really hope them bearings don't come out. If they do, it isn't the end of the world. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and get a scraper in and pry that. It's coming gently, gently, because you want to try and keep all them hairs off. And look at that. We had a stuck clutch. Oh no, the bearings are coming out. Look, oh no. Right, this is exactly what happened last time. All my bearings come out, the whole damn lot of them. Oh no. So what we're going to do is, quickly, before these do all fall out, we're going to put these back in, clean this clutch disc up. Because it turns out that's what was wrong with it. So I need to get all these bearings. There's only 3 fell out. There we go, they're going back in a tree. Come on, there we are. Right, all them bearings are out. We're going to clean this up. And probably just wipe over them friction discs. So let me just get something. Which involves a sheet of sandpaper, guys. We want a little, see for there, a little sheet of sandpaper. In this case, that's a, what is it, 240 DA disc. Just give this a little clean up. It don't need much. Just enough to get the sticky off. Thankfully, all the friction material on this still looks half okay. Could I have done this? Don't fall out. There we go. Could I have done this on the truck? Quite probably. Would it have worked? Quite probably. But at least now we've had this clutch to pieces. And we can see that it was just stuck, which is why this sprocket was not freewheeling. There we go. Now these do look a little bit contaminated, but the good thing is, because they are wet and these are asbestos, there's very little dust. In fact, there's no dust coming off them, which isn't actually ideal, because I think this is probably asbestos. Alright, do that. The most important one is doing this friction disc, and then we'll give that a good wipe down with some petrol on a rag, which will act as a good cleaning agent. Tell you what it is, somebody has gone over the top here, look, by putting copper grease or something in there, and you can see where it's flung it out onto the clutch discs. So let me get some petrol on a rag, and then we can reassemble this clutch. Right, instead of petrol, I'm going to use some RP90. Now, a lot of you tell me WD-40 is only good for cleaning. I know, it possibly is only good for cleaning, but I actually, as you know, I quite like the stuff. So I'm going to clean all that copper grease out of there. I'm not going to put WD-40 on them clutch discs, because that is really not a good idea. There we go. There we go. Alright, we can now reassemble this, and what I'm going to do is, so them bearings don't fall out, I'm going to pack them with grease. So let me get some grease. Not copper grease, we want normal grease. Now let me get some grease and we'll finger it. Right, so I have an old oiler with some good grease in. So all we're going to do is we're just going to dip your finger in your lube and then finger this bearing and hope it holds it all in. So just work some grease right in that crevice, and that'll hold them bearings in, and at the same time give them a good bit of lubrication. Don't get the grease on your friction surface. Do you see what I'm doing here? I'm just wiping that grease into that crevice, and that'll like make sure them bearings are basically glued in. So when I carry that back over the field, they can't all fall out. Or can't, or should I say won't all fall out. Oh, there's a couple here we got to do, look. There we go, got one more little, there we go, that's the last of them. Alright, there we are, guys. So all them bearings are now held in there with grease. So they're like basically stuck in place. Am I going to do any more with this friction material? No, it'll be fine. So what happens is, we have our 3 lugs come through these holes, if you remember, with these are ones with the springs. That is fixed to the other side of the clutch. Do you see what I mean? That's fixed to the crankshaft of the engine. Your sprocket comes on the chain here, and when your clutch is pressed, to disengage it, this spins freely. And then when you let your clutch lever out, them 3 springs push that plate onto this, which pushes it onto the friction plate the other side, and then it grips. Quite, that's got a fair bit of grip actually. It grips, and then yeah, it drives the machine. So that's why, I'm assuming that's why someone didn't put a chain on, because they couldn't work this out, or didn't know how these clutches worked, or just assumed there was a gearbox problem, or maybe they just hadn't got around to it. I really don't know. But there you go, that is basically how them clutches work. So let's get back out and get this back on, and I will show you how you tension them, because you have to get the same amount of tension on the springs, and it is very, very simple. So we're back outside. What we're going to do now, I'll turn the whole engine towards you so you can see. We need the bearing runs on this surface. So we're going to clean up this surface in case there's any grit or grime, and clean this friction plate because that is very contaminated with oil. I think I know what someone's done. This clutch is seized, and I reckon what they've done, you know, is they've soaked all this in penetrating oil to try and free it off. It's not a gearbox seal because this is not gear oil. It's like somebody's put they have put a lubricant in there to try and free the clutch. But don't worry, we'll get a bit of heat in it when that's gone and it'll burn off. So we can now put our clutch disc back over there. There we go. Now you can see better what I mean. Our clutch cover comes over these three, doesn't it? Over these three bolts. And then this can spin freely when the engine's idling and you ain't got your clutch in. That'll basically spin round on there. And then when you release your clutch, then plates push on, and that actually causes it to drive the engine. So this will basically, there you go, see us turning that now when I push on it? And when you release it, it's not. Push, it turns. Release, it doesn't. And that's basically how that works. Let's get that back on. Right, here we go, guys. So what we're going to do is, now everything's done, we can put this cover back on, and then we can get our springs. There we go. We can get our springs and bolts back in. Now you're wondering, how do you tension them up? Well, I'll show you. It's actually very simple. It's not 100% crucial, but it's best practice to do them at the same. So put the bolt in finger tight till you just feel tension on the spring. Just feeling tension on that spring. Just feeling tension on that spring. Right, so all our springs are now under equal tension. And what we want to do is do them all up to the same tension. So simple way, using a socket, just count the number of turns you go in with it. Whatever size socket have I got here? Oh, I've got a 13. Why did I pick up a 13? Alright, here we go, 12mm socket. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So 30 feels about right. So we've got to do each one of these up 30. Right, they've all been up about 30 quarter turns. They feel about right, but we aren't going to know. See, that clutch is now driving the truck. See, there's enough torque there to actually drive the truck. So when I push the clutch in the other side, that should now be free so the sprocket can spin. So clutch in, there you go. That's telling me, by the feel of it, that we have enough tension on them springs. If the clutch does slip, you can just do these up a couple of turns at a time. Do you know what I mean? Just put a bit more tension on them. But that clutch shouldn't spin now. But it's all free, look. The clutch is working. So, that's a nice little video on freeing off what I think was the issue why or the last owner hadn't put a clutch on this, or hadn't put a chain on this, should I say, and they'd soaked this in WD-40 or penetrating oil to try and get that sorted, to try and free that clutch off. They obviously didn't like the idea of taking it to bits. Right, I think what we're going to do, you guys haven't had a proper look around this. Let's pull it out. Let's pull it out so you can actually see, you can actually have a proper look around this Wrigley truck. So there we go, guys. That is what a Wrigley truck is. This is a tiny little Wrigley, a very small one, but it's a Wrigley. Hello, John. It is, as you can see, it's a proper Wrigley, serial number 7421, model 205. So yes, we have a small Wrigley truck. Now you're wondering, how do you ride these things? I see somebody also has undone the rear hub bearings, not one side, but both sides. But it has hard tyres on the back. The front one still has some wind, so it obviously isn't punctured. We'll pump that up. But I think as soon as I get a chain, I don't know what to do about this engine. It's a Villiers, but it's not the right engine. They did have Villiers. This engine's obviously been off here at some point, because there's loose bolts. You can see that's loose. So this is not the original engine. Whether it runs, I have no idea. But for those of you that are thinking, well, where do you sit? When these were built, they weren't designed for you to ride. What you did was, you actually used them this way, and you walked behind them, and you steered them like so, and they were like rear wheel steer. But people now cheat, flip the bars over and put a seat on there and ride them. But there we are. Right, guys, we're going to leave this video here on the Wrigley truck, and we will see you guys next time. Here's that clutch lever we were playing with. Clutch on, clutch off. Clutch on, clutch off. There we go. It is that simple. If you're wondering what that is, there should be a lever on there that you hawk over, and that turns the engine to start it. That's missing, but we'll get to that at another point. Right, we're going to leave the video here. Like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye for now.